I'll start with a little bit of context. I'm originally from a town outside of Boston that had a reputation for gang violence, mostly among the Asian community. Gang activity has died down over the years, but some neighborhoods can still be rough. I should also mention that I'm Asian too, but I was never involved in any gang. My parents moved us to a new town after my junior year when they landed better paying jobs and wanted a fresh start. Now, let's get to the story. I attended high school in my hometown from freshman through junior year. Before senior year, we moved, and I had to transfer to a new school. Coming from a place where diversity was the norm, this new school was, let's call it, different. It was predominantly white, with just a handful of Asian and other minority students. That made us easy targets for bullying. I've never been the type to take crap from anyone, especially not racists. At first, a few of them tried to mess with me, but they quickly learned not to. I'm not a big guy, about 5'10", and very slim, but I know how to hold my own because of the environment I grew up in. I also made it a point to stand up for the other kids who were getting bullied. One time, I defended a fellow Asian student, and it ended in a scuffle. I got off with a week of detention, but the other guy who started it was suspended for a long time. I guess, to some of the kids, I became some kind of hero. The bullies didn't like that one bit. Still, it's 2013, and kids are still getting physically harassed just for being minorities? Last week, after the final bell, I was heading out like usual, passing through the gym on my way out of school. Normally, I take that route alone with no issues, but this time felt off. About 5 guys were waiting in the gym, including the one who had been suspended earlier. It was just us, no teachers, no students, and no witnesses. I knew immediately what was about to go down. They started hurling racial slurs, saying they were going to beat the crap out of me, laughing like it was a game. At first, I couldn't tell if they were serious. A bunch of suburban kids trying to act tough against someone who grew up around real violence? I ignored them at first, trying to walk past, but they kept breathing down my neck. Then one of them yanked me back by my backpack. I spun around and shoved him hard, yelling, "Fuck off, dude." I've been in a few one-on-one fights before, but I'd never been jumped. It wasn't like in the movies, where one guy takes on a group and comes out looking cool. It was chaos and messy. Fists coming at me from every direction. I managed to hold a few of them off, landed a punch to one guy's throat, kicked another straight in the nose, but eventually it came down to just 2 of them. One of them, the biggest, stepped up like he wanted to finish me himself, trying to act like some kind of alpha in front of his crew. He threw a right hook at my face, but I dodged it and drove my fist into his gut. As he doubled over, I drew back and landed a clean right hook across his jaw. He dropped to his knees, clutching his stomach. Then I saw the last guy, the one who'd been suspended, step forward. He had a pocket knife in his hand. Everything slowed down. I knew this kid had issues. I could feel my heart pounding through my chest, adrenaline surging. I thought, this might be it. This might be how I die. He ran toward me, gripping the knife by his hip. Right before he could drive it into me, I grabbed his wrist with both hands, slammed my elbow into his face, and kicked him to the floor. I felt a sting in my side, where the blade had just barely grazed me. I lifted my shirt and saw a shallow cut. It was bleeding, but not bad. He lay on the floor, nose pouring blood, trailing down his neck. He started crying and apologizing, saying they just wanted to rough me up a bit. I wasn't buying it. I walked over to him and said, calmly but dead serious, "If you ever try anything like this again, to me or anyone else, I'll fuck you up for real." Then I left them there. No one caught us. I didn't tell anyone, except you guys here on Reddit. And probably the people that will hear this on YouTube, if this story gets narrated. I'm not sure if any of them said anything, but since then, the bullying has completely stopped. I know this wasn't some ghost story or creepy paranormal encounter you might normally hear on Reddit, but this was a true, real-life threatening experience I went through. And honestly, that's scarier than any monster story. So, while I was reading some stories, I remembered one of my own. I want to start by saying that English is my second language, so I might come back and edit this if something feels off. I live in South America, and when I was around 5 or 6 years old, my family and I lived in a small house, the first one my father ever bought. The house was in a very populated neighborhood. People living there didn't have much money, but they were all warm and friendly. We knew almost everyone on our street, and my brother and I used to play outside until late at night with no trouble at all. There was a kid who lived a few houses down from us. He was my own little bully. He was around my age, and I remember him clearly because of his very noticeable features, freckles and bright red-orange hair. I never really knew his parents. They weren't very social, and my parents didn't know them either. Whenever this kid was out in the street, it was like my worst nightmare. He used to pull my hair, shove me around, and for context, I was a very small and fragile girl. He would pinch my face and arms, and he always laughed while doing it, even when I looked terrified. He scared me so much that if I ever saw him coming toward me, I would run straight to my house and stay inside the rest of the day. Looking back, I think there was something seriously off about him, because he never spoke. Not one word, he would just laugh. When I'd run in and shut the gate, it was one of those see-through metal fences. He'd stand there, trying to reach through, pushing his arms in, even trying to shove his head through the bars. He creeped me out to no end. The tormenting only stopped after my brother finally hit him once. Honestly, the kid was getting way too violent. We eventually moved out of that neighborhood when I was about 7 years old. Fast forward 3 years when I was 10 and had long forgotten about that chapter of my life. One day, I was out running errands with my mom. She had to quickly drop something off at a friend's house, so we went in the car. She parked across the street from her friend's place and told me she'd only be a few minutes. I stayed in the passenger seat with the window slightly cracked open. She crossed the street and rang the bell, and the two of them just stood there chatting at the doorway. While I was waiting, I saw 3 boys walking toward the car, and I instantly felt my stomach twist. He had grown a couple inches, but I still recognized him, even after all those years. He looked at the car, caught me staring, and his face went serious. Then, he started walking fast, straight toward me. I stopped moving. I went completely still. I wanted to scream for my mom, but she was too far across the street, and I was afraid he would hear me yelling. Suddenly, he was standing right at my window. I kept looking straight ahead, but I could feel him staring directly at me. He didn't say a word, just looked at me. Then he reached for the door handle and tried to open it. Thank God it was locked. Just when I started to feel a tiny bit safer, he leaned in closer, like he was peering into the car, searching for something. I didn't understand what he was doing at first. He couldn't get in through the cracked window anyway, so I just sat there, frozen, waiting for it to be over. But then he found what he was looking for. He spotted the lock. Unfortunately, this car had the kind of lock right at the base of the window. He looked me dead in the eyes, then slowly gave me the biggest, creepiest smile, that same awful smile I remembered from when we were kids. And then he started slipping his arm in through the window. Obviously, he was reaching for the lock. Now I was really getting scared. I just wanted to get out of there, and somehow I did. In a panic, I jumped into the driver's seat, unlocked the door, and bolted. I ran across the street without looking back, straight to my mom, crying and shaking. When I finally turned around, he had the car door open. He was just standing there, still smiling at me. My mom screamed at him, told him to close the damn door and get away. And he did. Just like that. He turned and walked off. It was over. It's been more than 10 years since that happened, and I still wonder what was wrong with him. I never saw him again, and honestly, I hope I never do. So, creepy, smiling bully from my childhood, please, let's not meet again. If this doesn't belong in this subreddit, I'll move it to the appropriate one. I was a junior in high school at the time, 2008-2009 school year. When I think back on it now, all I can ask myself is, why didn't I have this asshole arrested? It was mid-October when I met a group of 3 girls. Let's call them Amber, Andrea, and Joyce. Despite the fact that they were freshmen, we quickly became close friends because of our shared love for anime. One day, while we were all hanging out, another kid joined the group. I'll refer to him as Matt in this story because even thinking about him now makes me sick to my stomach. Matt seemed a little off, but nothing about him immediately set off alarm bells. That changed within a week. He started pulling out my hair ties and, more than once, punched me in the stomach. Did I go to the principal? Of course not. I was too intimidated. As crazy as that might sound, what if he actually hurt me, or worse? Matt blamed his bullying behavior on his parents' divorce when he was 10. He was about 16 at the time and a sophomore, and claimed he had a shitty home life. Okay, but how is that an excuse for punching a girl over 180 pounds in the stomach and just getting away with it? December 2008. This is when I became sure Matt was dangerous, and I should have been seriously afraid for my safety. One school day, the 5 of us, Joyce, Andrea, Amber, Matt, and me, were sitting by the vending machines near the chorus and band rooms. We called that area the emo corner. I took out a copy of the Hellsing manga and started reading. Matt saw it and said, "Bring the books in tomorrow. I want to borrow them. If you don't, I'll break your nose." I sat there stunned, not sure what to do. I knew he wasn't joking. He had that kind of look in his eye, the one that told me he'd absolutely follow through. And he was good at manipulating things to make it seem like I was the problem. I ended up running to the bathroom to gather my thoughts, my heart racing. March 2009, I finally told my mom everything about Matt. Of course, being the protective person she is, she emailed the school administration immediately. The next day, I was called in to speak with one of the assistant principals. Our school had 3. I told her everything Matt had done. She assured me they would handle it. But right after that talk, Matt cornered me and started interrogating me, demanding to know what I'd been talking to the assistant principal about. I had to think fast, so I lied and told him it was something about the anime club. A couple of days later, Amber told me Matt had been suspended for 3 days. That's it. I was furious. He should have been expelled. He made me feel unsafe every single day. Soon after he returned, I found out something even more insane. The assistant principal had filed a restraining order against me, saying I wasn't allowed to be near him. I couldn't believe how they were trying to make me the bad person. Apparently, pulling out my hair ties, punching me in the stomach, and threatening me with violence was somehow my fault. What a complete and utter joke. Thankfully, Matt ended up moving away at the end of the school year. But I still have this sick feeling about him. I wouldn't be surprised if I saw his name on the news one day for something awful. I don't know if it'll be for murder or a mass shooting, but it wouldn't shock me. To the psycho bully who ruined my junior year and made me afraid to go to school, I never want to meet you ever again. When I was a kid, I'm 25 now, and male, I dealt with a boy in my church who bullied me. Let me just say, I'm telling this story anonymously. So where do I start? This all happened around 13 years ago. I don't know how old he was exactly, but I think he was maybe 3 or 4 years older than me. I also can't pin down my exact age, or even when it all started, but I was probably around 11 to 13 when the worst episodes happened. Maybe some incidents happened when I was as old as 14, but again, I'm not really sure. He once whipped me with his shirt when we were in the locker rooms during a swimming activity. Another time, he punched me in the privates when we were alone in the church hallways. He also poked me with a pin inside a classroom. While we were cleaning up a campsite one day, he pushed me down hills several times, and I ended up crashing into a few trees. In our church, we were assigned to close the chapel doors during services. I missed the cues once because I was spacing out, and he threatened me not to mess it up again. So I learned quickly to shut the doors on time. He never carried out the threat. I was very submissive to him, and didn't lift a finger to stop him or ask for help. One detail I want to mention is how sporadic the bullying was. He might poke me with a pin one day, then wait 5 months before whipping me with a shirt during swimming. He was unpredictable. Sometimes, he could be almost friendly to me for months, then suddenly turn on me again. I was always on edge around him and tried to avoid him whenever I could. Aside from speaking to me in a condescending tone, I don't remember him saying anything especially insulting. His bullying was almost entirely physical. He'd hit me in the back, then just walk away without a word. It was like he didn't care about breaking me down emotionally. He only wanted something to hit. I think the only reason I was never hospitalized was because he never escalated things consistently over time. He also attacked other kids. I remember seeing another boy crying in the corner once, after my bully went after him. I never told anyone about it until years later. And there's something else I should mention. The kid came from a really broken home. His parents were ultra-controlling religious fanatics. They even banned chocolate because they considered it sinful for some reason. Their dysfunction was basically legendary at our church. You know the old saying, "You don't know what happens behind closed doors?" That didn't apply to them at all. If anything, their closed doors were public exhibits. The kids were openly rebellious. He once illegally crossed the Canadian border during a church trip just to spite the adults and got detained for almost a day. They constantly aired their dirty laundry on social media and to anyone who would listen. He even broke a church window once. And of course, he admitted to it, because he knew he wouldn't get in any trouble. Looking back, I think he just needed a literal punching bag to let out his demons, and I was that for him. His random attacks might have just been his version of stress relief. His dad was also extremely abrasive. Once, to prove some weird point, he wiped poison ivy on his own face. He ended up in the hospital. He was proud of his parenting and made no attempt to hide it. Eventually, my bully left home. I don't even know if he graduated high school. He cut off all ties with his family, and that's basically when the bullying stopped. I didn't tell my family about it until around 2 years later. My mom once asked me in the car why I never said anything, and honestly, I didn't even have an answer. I still don't really know why I let him treat me like that. If I had to guess, I was just a naive kid who didn't understand the full gravity of the situation. Maybe fear played a part too. He was at least twice my size and easily towered over me. I knew that if I tried to fight back, he probably would have destroyed me. So I figured fighting back would only make things worse. When I got a little older, about my mid to late teens, I started stewing over how he got away with it all. It gave me no closure. I even got lost in these dark, edgelord revenge fantasies just to cope. I did see him one last time, a few years after he left home. His family was moving out of state due to a serious emergency involving one of his younger sisters, and they held a farewell party at my family's house. He showed up with some of his friends. Seeing him again filled me with fear and anxiety. I honestly had these dark thoughts about shoving him to the ground, but I knew better and kept those feelings to myself. Our last conversation was just a quick, "Hi, how's it going?" and that was it. I haven't heard from him since. That was over 8 years ago. Even now, I still wrestle with the fact that he got off unpunished. Though I did hear through the grapevine that he went on to live a wild and reckless life, and it's caused him some misery down the road. Sorry for the long rambling post. It's just been on my mind again lately, and I wanted to share it somewhere. I still don't have closure, and maybe I never will. It's just another piece of my life that I'll have to carry with me forever.